Hello, everyone. All right. This is brand new from Cisco's CCNA 200-301. Remember that we configure OSPF using network statements, right? Within IPv6, you configure the routing protocols. All you do is enable them on whatever interface you want them to participate in. Well, now they want you to do that with OSPF version 2, the IPv4 version of OSPF. So now you will be putting in a process ID number, like normal, router OSPF 1, and then I like to put a router ID, so I just put a router ID, and then I exit out and I go into the interface, and then I just go into whichever interface I want it to participate in the OSPF process. I just do IP, OSPF, whatever process number, area, whatever area you want to, be a part of. That's it. Boom, you're done. I'm going to leave you with a lab, obviously. So it's going to be an EIGRP, an actual iOS, but it states it in Cisco, and I say it again. I'll probably be saying it again in the lab. It's, they're saying there's no difference whether you do it on the interface or you do it with network statements. As far as the protocol working, it's the same damn thing, all right? The only difference is when you do a show command, their show command is show IP, OSPF interface, whatever. Careful, slight differences between iOSs, but essentially it's the same, but it's slight differences on where they want you to see, okay? So just be careful with that. All right, but that's it. That's it. How in the world they're going to ask you that question, I don't know. But configuring it is just like if you were configuring IPv6, but OSPF, right? But IPv4 OSPF in the interfaces, no network statements. Now the book tells you, oh, take out the network statement, because that is a difference. Because if you have a network statement and you have the interface configuration of OSPF, the interface configuration of OSPF will override the network statement, right? That is a difference. But as far as how the routing protocol is going to work and create the elections and the hellos and all that stuff, it all stays the same. It all stays the same. Cool? So I leave you with the OSPF lab. See you inside. All righty. This should be interesting. We all know how to configure OSPF. We've configured OSPF, obviously, in this section. We've configured OSPF before. 2,000 years ago, we configured OSPF then, okay? And it was always using network statements, okay? You could always play around with a wildcard mask, use all zeros, all that good stuff, all zeros. So any network that you put in there will be part of that area, okay? We played around, but now, I've shown in other classes and on YouTube, many different places, how to do the IPv6, right? OSPF version 3, right? Where you do it, you just go on the interface and you configure it on the interface, right? Meaning you would just put in an OSPF process ID number. You have to put in a router ID because in IPv6 it doesn't choose it for you. You got to go ahead and put it in manually. And then you go ahead and go into each interface and you just enable, OSPF, and then you tell it the process number and the area you want to participate in. It's much easier. It is much easier. But now they want to do that too for the CCNA and IP version 4, for OSPF version 2. They want to configure that because, they show you the traditional way of how to do it, and then they say, well, that's the traditional way. Now we're going to do it this way, okay? Because they just want to. They don't say that there's differences as far as when you type in show commands in what you see, but as far as the actual routing protocol and how the election of the BDR and DR and the updates and the hellos and that stays the same. There's nothing that changes. Now, I mean, to give them credit, I mean, it's much easier to do it this way, what I'm about to show you. Now, I did this in the packet tracer. This is EVNG, as you can see. I did this in the packet tracer, and it worked. It worked just fine. It was just fine. But the show, and I got the book right next to me, because I don't want to, say something that's not correct. On volume 1 of the CCNA 200-301 on page Cisco Press, on page 488, that's an 8? Or 6? No, that's a 6. 486. Don't got my glasses on. 486. Okay, in example 20-14, they have two, interface configuration show output commands, right? One that's configured in the normal way using network statements, one using interface configuration. So you would type in the show IP OSPF interface, right? And then if you did it under the interface, you should see something on the second line. Well, the first line says first with a new interface configuration. Oh, okay, that's just for you to look at. Okay, this is a remark, sorry. Okay, so what you look at is the second line, right? The first line tells you gigabit is up, right? Protocol, everything's up. And then it tells you interface address 10.1, their IP addressing scheme, 10.1.12.1.24. You're attached, that's what's highlighted. Attached via the interface enable. I did that in the packet tracer, that does not show up. All right, that does not show up. All right, and the specific command is show IP OSPF interface G000 in their case. In my case, it was show IP OSPF interface F00. And that was pointing towards another router, and yeah, that didn't come up. All right, and then if you were to do it the traditional way, it would show you via network statement instead of via interface enable. So this is EVNG. You can see there's 7200 series routers. All right. Well, I already have routers over there. I did a show IP protocol to show that there's no routing protocol assigned. I can do it again just so you can see show IP protocols. Okay. Show start. Well, you can do a show IP in brief. Show IP in brief. There are the IPs. I have a loopback and I have an interface. So I still want to give the router and router ID. So I just mimicked what I did for IPv6, okay, for OSPF. I just mimic it for IPv4 as well. So I'm going to do config T. And then I'm going to go router, OSPF1, router ID, 1.1.1.1. Now I'm going to exit. I'm going to go into interface F0/0 and do IP OSPF1 area 0. And then I'm going to go into loopback int LO1 enter and do IP, same thing. Just going to all barrel. There you go. Do WR. Outstanding. So we're going to do the same thing here. Okay, I have it open already. All right, show IP protocol, show IP protocols. No, well, yeah, so you can see that there's no, okay, type last type. There we go. All right, no overriding protocols, show IP in brief. There we go. Okay, so we got F00, F10, and F20. Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. There's a loopback too, sorry. So we're going to go config T. Router, OSPF, is that correct? OSPF1, router ID, 2.2.2.2. I'm going to exit. Interface, F0/0, IP, OSPF1, area 0, right? Then I'll go F, oh, that was pretty quick. Okay, F10, int, F1/0, enter, and then loop back 2, int L2. There you go. So all those interfaces participate in that area. All right. Control Z. And let's do the last router. Oh, I already have it open, silly man. There you go. Show protocol, show IP protocols. No protocols. Awesome, awesome. And show IP in brief. Not HIP. It's HIP. To be square. No, show IP in brief. Okay. So we have F00 and loopback 3. Cool. So conf T. I'm going to do router OSPF1. Router ID 33333. I'm going to exit. Go to interface F0/0, right? Enter. And now I'm going to do IP OSPF 1 area 0. Should come up quickly. There we go. Awesome. And then loopback 3 interface. Interface. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I gotta go to the interface. Interface loop LO3. And then do IP OSPF 1 area 0. Done deal. Do WR. All right. So now let's see what we got here. Show IP route. So we got OSPF. There's the 1.1.1 network right there. All right, we know that's a loopback for router 1. We can ping that 1.1.1.1. Awesome. Let's do the command that they actually said. Show IP OSPF interface F0/0. It goes on router 3. That's this one going this way. So it should tell me how this is attached. Is it via the interface or is there a network? Nope, it should be right here. According to their book on page 488. Right? No, 486. I thought it was an 8. That's what I said. It's 486, example 20-14. First, with the new interface configuration for OSPF version 2, after it tells you that your line is up, like the internet address, right? It says gigabit 0 is up, all right? Yeah, it says my fast internet is up, okay. It says internet address and then the IP in the area, internet address, the IP address and the area. And then it says attached via interface enable. No, it doesn't say that. It says enable by interface config. There we go. So when you're going through this, okay, because this is the first time, you see it, they even say it in their book, it's new, all right? The first time that you're doing this for OSPF2, because this is for OSPF3. Because in the CCNA 200-125, you had to configure, well, you didn't have to configure, you should have known how to configure. If you were my student anyway, you should have known how to configure OSPF version 3, all the routing protocols and IPv6. You should have known how to do that. All right, and you did that by enabling it on the interface. So now they want to do the same thing with OSPF version 2. Now, which is great. I mean, you don't have to worry about that network command. It's just easier. But just I highlighted it says OSPF. This is in page 485. It's chapter 20 of volume 1, Cisco Press. It says OSPF operates the same way whether you use the new style or old style of configuration. The OSPF area design works the same. Neighbor relationship formed the same way. Routers negotiate to become the DR/BDR the same way, and so on. However, you can see a few small differences in show commands. Lovely. So, again, something that we just need to know, all right, for a certification purpose. There's no real, I mean, it makes it easier on you as the individual to configure it, I guess. But now you can do it this way. You can do it this way, okay? So again, don't worry about what it says here, priority 254, I think that way. But I was messing around with this earlier, just changing the priority numbers for DR/BDR action. Okay, but what you need to look at that in their iOS, it says attached by network or attached by interface. Here it says enabled by interface config. Okay, and also, and this was learned not in the book, but by forums that I do my research on. And all sorts of places that I go looking around because things are just weird. that this will override your network statements. So if you have both configurations, the interface will override the network statement, just so you know. So this is the new way that you may get asked. You may get asked both. You know, create a network statement, configure OSPF on the interface. I mean, I don't know how they're going to ask you that question, but just know that it's pretty straightforward. It's very, very simple. Create a process ID number. You don't even have to give it an ID. I just wanted to. Okay. And go ahead and just put in the process ID number. Go to the interface. Put in IP, OSPF, the process ID number you created up here, and then the area you wanted to participate in, that interface. And you do that for all the interfaces that you want to participate in that particular area. It makes it a lot easier, you know, props to them, makes it a lot easier, but hey, this is something new. I just don't want to see this question in the CCNA 200-125, you know, because that wasn't part of that. This is why in this book it says new way. Cool? Cool. All right, so that is configuring OSPF under the interface. Simple, simple, simple. See you in the next one.